If you've scrolled through a real estate app recently, you have likely noticed a clear shift in the market. The persistent housing drought for the last few years has officially been breaking. The inventory is building up. According to the latest data from Redfin United Housing Market Center, nationwide housing inventory has climbed to exactly 1,482,156, not to be exact. Of homes that are actually on the market for sale, right? That represents a 1.6 increase year over year when you zoom out and you look at the broader macro trend tracked by Fred, which is a active listing count index. Active properties around the country have grown month over month for 30 consecutive months, by the way. We are watching a sustained multi-year rebuild of the housing supply in real time. However, there's always a however, isn't there? There is an important caveat to these numbers. Even with 2.5 years of consistent and consecutive supply growth, our national total housing inventory remains roughly 12% below the baseline of what we consider normal, aka healthy pre-pandemic market. We are recovering, but we're recovering inside a deep structural deficit. Sellers are finally returning to market. Yay, sellers! But they are entering an environment where buyers are no longer rushing to bid on everything that has a for sale sign out in the front lawn. So this brings us to the most defining metric of the current market. Do you guys know what it is? You're right. It's the stale inventory phenomenon. Now, you're like, what the heck is that, Greg? Well, it's pretty clear. It's easy to understand. Watch this. Houses are being listed for sale, but a mass portion of them are simply sitting vacant or lingering on the market. And so we decided to really do a deep dive on this data. So we went over to Redfin. There's a stale housing inventory report, and it reveals that more than half of all the active listings in the United States, specifically, it's 52.2% if you were counting at home, have been sitting on the market for 60 days or longer, not securing a buyer's contract. Then we aggregate the total value of those specific properties, and it means that there is a record breaking, get ready for this, guys, $347 billion worth of stale inventory currently stuck in the real estate limbo loop, which nobody wants to ever get stuck on that. The root cause here is a stark mismatch. The market velocity and the median days on the market has jumped to 49 days. Many sellers are still operating with a 2021 mentality, expecting the immediate bidding wars. Buyers, meanwhile, are facing a high restrictive mortgage environment, and they are carefully calculating monthly payments, which they should, by the way, and refusing to compromise. So, if the house isn't in pristine condition, or if it's priced, I'm talking slightly above the fair market value, buyers are actively walking away. They're letting the home sit. They're saying that we're not going to be taken advantage of anymore. The acceleration of supply introduces a significant paradox. Traditional economics would, dictate to us that when supply rises, prices should fall. Yet, overall national pricing metrics are holding remarkably steady. Looking closely at the latest NAR exiting, it's actually the exiting sales price report. So, what you sold your home for, right? The homes that are being sold are just squeaking out with a mere 0.2% micro bump, reaching a seasonally adjusted annual rate. That means we have about just over 4 million units for sale on the open market nationwide. During the exact same period, unsold inventory jumped by 5.8%, and that brings us up to 1,470,000,000 units. Despite, you know, everything that's going on, the influx of opportunities, the buyers on a national level, they're just going, this is just too much for me. So the national median exit price, again, with all these metrics built into everything, right, is actually managed to get and rise up a 0.9% year over year, hitting this magic number that we keep talking about in these different videos. And that is the $417,700 for the median sales price or purchase price for an entry-level home. Now, this becomes steadily, it works with wage inflation or lack thereof. And the temporary minor, dips in the mortgage rates are providing just enough purchasing power for highly qualified buyers to that can sustain these different rates, right? Um, and these premium baseline prices, at least for the houses, are successfully go under contract. But it's vital to remember that $417,700 is a blended national median. It masks a massive geographic divide here in the states. So let's take a look at that. While nationwide prices are, projected to grow or at least remain flat, what we're looking at is anywhere from a 0 to a 2% for the remainder of the year. Now, the regional data shows an entirely fractured real estate market. The Northeast and the Midwest continue to see upward price pressure, aka they're getting more for their homes. Now, there's a reason, and we're going to get into that in a second. So now the home prices in the Northeast, they surged. In comparison, they grew by 4.9%. Meanwhile, the Midwest climbed 3.6%. Pretty commendable right there. These regions, this is the reason why they are growing right now. These regions never experienced a massive overbuilding boom seen elsewhere. Meanwhile, inventory remains incredibly tight, and the buyers are still competing over the limited pool of homes that are available. So on the converse side, so conversely, look at the West Coast and the Sun Belt. The West experienced a notable 2.9% drop in prices, driven entirely by the aggressive inventory recovery. Areas that saw explosive, unsustainable price spikes over the last few years are now seeing supply rush back in. Shifting the leverage firmly over to the buyers. Meanwhile, the South has flattened out completely, marking just a 0.2% change, according to the comprehensive NER metro area price analysis. You are no longer just evaluating the housing market using a single national narrative. If you are shopping or selling in a high inventory zone, aka the West or the South, you face a completely different reality. So when someone is navigating a highly competitive landscapes like the Northeast, it's going to be a different story. 100%, guys. The ultimate takeaway from this data is that the current market gridlock isn't just about sheer numbers of houses available. It's about the deep structural mismatch. So the data compiled in the Realtor.com Spring Progress Report shows that savvy sellers are beginning to realize this. They are starting to proactively soften the median listing price up front. What does that mean? It means the sellers have screwed their heads on and they've decided to say, okay, we're not in 2021. We have to understand the marketplace and what it's going to sell for. So we're not going for pie in the sky. We're going to up front take a little bit of a haircut in their minds about the pricing. But what is it going to do down the road? So recognizing that, right? It's far more effective by letting the listing start at a little bit of a reduced price versus cutting the prices as you go. What that is called chasing the market. You're always trying to get down to where the market is versus getting ahead of the market and cutting them off at the pass and allowing your buyer for your home to see the value in your property. The NAR inventory and affordability analysis flags a national listing income alignment score. So basically, how much can you afford, right? And it came in at a dismal 74.9%. This means that the middle income families earning between 75,000 and 100,000 face the absolute steepest housing deficits. So the bulk of the new inventory coming online have skewed heavily towards luxury and upper tier pricing, leaving the entire entry level tier severely constrained. This is precisely why buyers aren't celebrating despite the 30-month consecutive growth of inventory. The volume is available and it's rising, but the correct price tags are still missing. Wow, that is some interesting stuff, guys. In the comments below, I'm going to pin all of the links to this video so you guys can do your research. Great graphs, great charts. Go take a look at it. Also, make sure you stay tuned for our next video coming up on Wednesday. That is when we're going to show you guys how to use free resources to scrape databases using AI. All right, guys, love to see you. Thanks for your time. Have a great day. Bye-bye.